Hello, my name is David Contreras. I'm a member of LULAC since 1965, 57 years ago. A member of Council 688 in Houston, Texas, and I am the Texas State LULAC historian. This video is to provide a synopsis of my involvement with a program called Pancho Claus, which was fiscally sponsored by LULAC Council 4967. In November 2020, I was asked by Richard Reyes, aka Pancho Claus, a member of LULAC Council 4967, and by two other significant community leaders to help save the 2020 Pancho Claus Christmas program. Richard had been fired by a cultural arts center called Talente Bilingual, which was managed by another cultural arts organization, nonprofit, and didn't have a place to store thousands of toys. And he also did not have sponsors and funding for the program for the year 2020. From November 1st to December 25th, I dedicated about 150 volunteer hours to plan, budget, organize, market, and raise funds. One of the goals was to obtain a 501c3 for the Pancho Claus Program. I contacted my brother, Pancho Contreras, of the Latino Learning Center, and found a facility to store his toys and for an office. I convinced Berta Urtiega, the treasurer of LULAC Council 4967, to be the fiscal sponsor and to open a checking account for the Pancho Claus program. Berta had a 501c3 that would be used for fundraising. Even though I was not a council member, nor even in District 18, I was asked to be a signer on the account and to oversee and manage the transaction activity. I was on several television stories promoting the program and made several comments, that funds raised were for toys, because I was told and believed this was the cause. I had a friend write a front page article about the 2020 Pancho Claus Christmas program in the Houston Chronicle. I wrote and received a $15,000 grant from ExxonMobil. I helped raise $69,000 in GoFundMe donations. My council donated $250. I donated $250, and I convinced friends and relatives to donate another $500. My wife and I were on a caravan Christmas Eve, giving toys to hundreds of children in underserved communities. In early February 2021, I did an audit of the expenses and determined that only $5,000 was spent on Christmas gifts. Most of the money was spent on stipends and other administrative costs. The $5,000 was to the Harris County precinct for a shopping spree, and they are the ones that helped to get the $15,000 grant that I mentioned previously from ExxonMobil. I expressed my concerns several times to LULAC 4967 and the District 18 leadership about how the council was not properly providing oversight and governance of the donated funds. Having been involved as a treasurer of a newly formed 501c3 and managing $1.5 million in funds, I saw an egregious lack of control and risk to the LULAC Council. In early February 2021, I expressed my disappointment of how funds were spent, how I felt significantly misled, and resigned from helping and supporting this program. In June 2021, I completed and submitted a report to the LULAC Council 4967 leadership and recommended that they close the Pancho Claus account. The response I received from the council was that I was obsessed with destroying the Pancho Claus program. I had been slandered, and my character had been demeaned by being accused of stealing money from LULAC, expelled from LULAC, and destroying several other nonprofits, including Talente Bilingual. That was a big surprise to me. My biggest concerns are as follows. From the period of November 2020 until December 2021, more than $160,000 had been raised, with only $8,000 going to toys. I, my council, and friends and family donated more than $1,000, with a strong belief that the donations were for toys. There were many television, internet, and news stories with tear-dropping comments that convinced others to donate, with the understanding the donations were for toys for children and underserved communities, and if enough money was not raised, the children would not have a Christmas. In July 2021, I received a cease and desist letter from attorney Baldemar Garza, who also happens to be a LULAC member, who was representing Richard Reyes. When I asked why, I was told because I was saying bad things about Richard Reyes, or Pancho Claus. My goal has been to try to stop what is, in my opinion, a significant deception. In December 2021 and January 2022, I helped the Council 4967 Treasurer do a detailed analysis and summary of how funds were spent from this period of November 2020 to December 2021. The Treasurer has not informed anyone that she provided me access to the records, and I had access previously from June to 2021, and she let me have access from July 2021 through December 2021. In December 2021, I requested a copy of the financial records of Pancho Claus from the council, but did not get an answer. The request was sent to the council district, state, and national offices, still without no response. In March 2022, I submitted a complaint to the IRS of the LULAC Council fiscal sponsorship of Pancho Claus and the significant lack of oversight and governance. A complaint was also sent to the Federal Trade Commission. I'm currently working with a major television network here in Houston for an investigative report. This does not involve accusations or negative comments about Pancho Claus or LULAC, but rather a review of the facts, to ask how funds were spent, and to review how and why funds were asked for. Martha Diaz took over the management of the funds of the Pancho Claus account in January 2020 while Bertha was very, very ill with COVID. A report of highly questionable items, a debit card usage, and cash withdrawals was part of my overall review and sent to the state and national offices. I think that any objective audit would find these items highly questionable. And there's a couple of examples I want to note. One of them is that Richard Reyes was given a debit card. And during a period from October 2021 to December, there were almost 100 transactions totaling $8,000, and many of these transactions appear to be for personal use. Also, there were a few cash withdrawals. There's one in particular for $3,000 by the district director, 18, Martha Diaz, who was a signer on the account. She signed most of the checks. And this $3,000 withdrawal has no receipt or explanation, and when she was asked about it, she just said, hey, I moved money to another account. I still think that the state or national office should do an audit. I'm confident that the facts will reveal that corrective action is necessary and that developing best practices for the future fiscal sponsorships would be beneficial. One of the things that I'm very disappointed with is that this is carried over. There are 3 accounts, checking accounts, used by the nonprofit LULAC Council 4967, and an account is being used for education. There are grants that have been received from the national office. I believe it's a Google account, and they're very questionable transactions. They have concerns about conflict of interest, where the person who actually wrote the grant is administering the program, has her for-profit company involved, is paying family members, for their to provide the service provided by the grant, and she's paying herself. I think there's significant conflict of interest. Hopefully, this is something that can be addressed not only with this council, but with all councils. I think reform is necessary, and we need to have policies dealing with conflict of interest, code of ethics, and things of this nature. Thank you for listening to my complaint.